Hello world, I'm Prince the Culture Keeper, founder of the Culture Keeper Circle. Today, I'm all dressed up because I'm taking you to the largest museum and research complex in the whole world, the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian Institution was founded in 1846 with a simple but powerful mission for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. Today, it comprises of 21 museums and art galleries, 14 education and research centers, and our national zoo. The complex boasts up to 157 million artifacts, artworks, and specimens. Separate from the museums and galleries, the Smithsonian libraries and archives own more than 3 million volumes, including rare books and manuscripts. This vast trove of artifacts, artwork, specimen, and literature fills the Smithsonian's charter to preserve and showcase the breadth of human history, art, and scientific discovery. The Smithsonian receives more than 30 million visitors annually and reaches tens of millions more through digital exhibits and educational programs and traveling shows across the country. The institution operates on an annual budget of more than $1.5 billion, with about 70% of that budget provided by federal appropriations from Congress. It employs approximately 6,400 staff and is supported by more than 7,000 volunteers annually. Its public funding, public involvement, and its mission for public access makes the Smithsonian Institution a public trust accountable to the people. And for African-descendant, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, and Latiné communities, the Smithsonian is a place of both profound visibility and national responsibility. The Smithsonian houses the largest concentration of African-descendant, Indigenous, Asian, and Latiné cultural collections in the world, and it is actively reckoning with what that means. Because many of these items were not donated. They were extracted, taken under colonial violence, civil unrest, slavery, or political coercion. The Smithsonian has begun taking steps to confront that legacy, and communities are demanding more than acknowledgement. Today, we are demanding accountability and transparency from the U.S. federal government about its intentions with the nation's beloved Smithsonian Institution. And we are advocating for the unqualified protection of 157 million cultural artifacts, artworks, specimen, literature, and other objects in the Smithsonian's care. We are especially concerned about objects that tell fuller and harder histories of communities who have contributed greatly to U.S. history and culture. For African-descendant communities, the National Museum of African American History and Culture is the Smithsonian's most recent and most visited museum by far. It holds more than 40,000 objects, including Harriet Tubman's personal belongings, Nat Turner's Bible, civil rights protest signs, Jim Crow era artifacts, and art and fashion from across the diaspora. Beyond the museum walls, the Anacostia Community Museum explores urban Black life, grassroots activism, and everyday cultural activity. The National Museum of American History also holds thousands of documents and artifacts related to slavery, Reconstruction, and Black cultural life. The Smithsonian Folkways Recordings archives the musical roots of Black America, from blues to gospel to hip-hop and even go-go. For Indigenous communities, the National Museum of the American Indian is the Smithsonian's flagship Indigenous institution, with sites in both Washington, D.C. and New York City. Its collection includes over 800,000 cultural and historical objects representing more than 1,200 Indigenous communities across the Western Hemisphere. That includes sacred regalia and ceremonial items, treaties and legal petitions, oral histories, films and sound recordings, contemporary Indigenous art and digital storytelling. The Smithsonian's Recovering Voices initiative helps protect and revitalize endangered native languages through collaboration with tribal communities. Meanwhile, the National Anthropological Archives and the Smithsonian's Repatriation Office work under pressure to return sacred and funerary objects to their rightful caretakers. For Asian and Pacific Islander communities, the National Museum of Asian Art holds more than 45,000 objects from East, South, and Southeast Asia. That includes ancient manuscripts, sacred statues, textiles, photographs, and modern art. The Smithsonian Asian Pacific American Center, APAC, doesn't yet have a building, but it's already changing how Asian American and Pacific Islander stories are told. APAC curates digital and traveling exhibits on Japanese internment, South Asian migration, Filipino labor organizing, queer AAPI resistance, Pacific Islander environmental stewardship, and other causes. The Smithsonian Asian Pacific American Center, APAC, partners with communities across the country to shift and multiply narrative power about experiences that span oceans. Latiné communities know that Latiné culture is rooted in African, Indigenous, European, and even Asian legacies. Across the Smithsonian, Latiné history and culture lives within those frameworks. In the National Museum of African American History and Culture, you'll find stories of Afro-Latiné struggle, migration, and all forms of visual, literary, and performing arts. In the National Museum of the American Indian, you'll find the roots of Latin America's indigenous civilizations from Incan civilization in the Andes by way of Mesoamerica. The National Museum of American History documents Latino political activism, music, labor, and education. And APAC supports work that highlights Asian Latino identities and diaspora connections. The Smithsonian Latino Center, now being folded into the eventual National Museum of the American Latino, is building a permanent home for Latino memory on the National Mall. The Smithsonian Institution houses 157 million artifacts, artworks, and specimens that speak of sorrow and celebration, brutality and brilliance, forced labor and freedom. These artifacts hold up a mirror to reflect who we were, who we are, and who we are yet becoming. The United States of America is still evolving, still growing, still becoming. And as a nation, the stories we tell and how we tell them dictate whether we resort to sorrow, brutality, and division, or advance in innovative brilliance, inclusive collaboration, and unqualified freedom for all. We cannot take the world's largest museum and research complex for granted. As a federal institution, it is funded by Congress and now vulnerable to political pressures to revise inconvenient histories and erase traditionalist cultures. Join the circle. Share, like, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, donate to our cause. Visit www.culturekeepercircle.org and donate using any of the green buttons on our site. Because cultural power is political power, and we must protect what cannot be replaced. Prince the Culture Keeper, over and out.